Okay, so let's look at what's really going on with Diablo 4. What really happened with Diablo 4? So again, if you have kept up with this game at all, you would know that originally the game was going to be a Dark Souls ripoff. And there was a it went through like 2 years of development where it was going to be a third person action game. It was going to be a lot different than other Diablo games. And for whatever reason, it sucked. It didn't work out. They didn't have the talent to pull it off. They didn't do it. And it got scrapped and it got restarted. And now it turned into what you're seeing, where it's basically just another conservative, let's just make basically another Diablo 3 because we fucking failed and couldn't do anything different. And so we'll just go back to the surefire thing. We'll go back to what we know works. And so, see, here's the thing. You might ask yourself, well, like, it's a it's a action RPG. Why does it have these like super detailed character models and everything? Well, see, what happened was all of these art assets were created when the game was still a Dark Souls ripoff. And so that's why they put all that effort into the character models and the armor and all of that. And so what happened is that after that failed, after it fell on its face, probably because their team didn't have enough talent to actually make a Dark Souls clone, they said, well, fuck. What are we going to do? Like, we can't actually just scrap and just dump all of this art because we're ultimately a cheap game company and this is all about making money. So we have to find a way to repurpose and, retrofit this dog shit onto something else. So what are we going to do? Well, we'll just make a game that's all about cosmetics and microtransactions. So even though it's an action RPG, and the camera is zoomed out several light years, and every character on the screen is a fucking ant, and you can't really make out any of the models anyway. We're gonna pretend like it's important and try to sell you on this line of shit so you buy our stupid cosmetics. Because we fucked up and made a bunch of art for a Dark Souls ripoff that failed, but we can't actually toss out all that work because that would cost money. And of course we're going to reuse every single fucking thing. Of course we're going to dump our mistake on the gamer instead of actually just admitting we fucked up and start over. So you're going to get shit performance in your game because your models are way more detailed than they need to be for the camera distance they're being displayed at. And our technology sucks and can't properly level of detail the models anyway. So our game's going to run like fucking dog shit. And we're going to pretend that cosmetics in an action RPG matter when they actually don't matter all and couldn't matter less. But that's the line of shit that we're going to try pulling here. That's what happened with this game. That's the story of Diablo 4. And really, if you think about it, it kind of made sense because that's what Blizzard used to be before the company went under, and it did go under. There is no Blizzard anymore. It's just Activision now. Blizzard doesn't exist anymore. There's an internal Activision team that they call Blizzard, but there is no Blizzard anymore. Whatever you thought of as Blizzard is gone. It's dead. It is far gone, pining for the fjords. It's over. There is no Blizzard anymore. And basically, but what Blizzard used to do is they used to look at the current market and they would say, okay, well, there's some game that we like, whether it's EverQuest or, whatever it happens to be. And it's a really good idea and we like it a lot, but it's not very polished and it could be streamlined and it could be refined. And so that's what we'll do. And that's what Blizzard always did. Like with World of Warcraft was just a refined and polished EverQuest, an EverQuest that got it right. And so it would make perfect sense, right, for them to, essentially, because in Dark Souls is the same thing. Dark Souls is, like those From Software games are really rough around the edges. They've always been. The cooperative play in them never even worked. The netcode was always dog shit. There's always tons of jankiness in those games. And so it would have made perfect sense for the Blizzard of old to be able to say, all right, we like Dark Souls, we're fans of it, game's kind of janky, but you know what? We'll make a polished version of it. We'll make a refined, polished, mainstream friendly version of it, where the co-op actually works, and now it's going to be this big thing. That is what old real Blizzard would have done. But this current shitty Activision company isn't capable of doing things like that anymore. They don't have the talent to do that anymore. So what are they going to do? They're just going to basically keep recycling the same old shit. They're not going to actually create anything that requires any fundamental leap. It's all going to be shit that they've done before, and that's why this is basically just, a slower, more boring Diablo 3, because they already had that, and it was the safe fallback, and that's ultimately what this is. Like, Diablo 4 is basically just their attempt to not completely lose their hat on all of the art assets that they wasted their time creating for a project that fucking failed. In the same way that Overwatch was basically just them retrofitting their failed MMO's art assets so that they didn't completely lose their hat on that MMO's development. That's what Diablo 4 is. Failed project. Let's just try to do something with these art assets that we created for our failed Dark Souls ripoff. So congratulations, idiots. You're spending $70 on sloppy seconds for some art assets, for a game that they weren't even intended for an action RPG. You're paying $70 so they can recoup some of the loss on the art assets that they mistakenly created for a fucking failed project. Good job, Rubes. Good job. Give them some more money. As basic as this is, all you have to do is look at the developer's communication and ask yourself, are they ever being dishonest? Are they ever lying to the people interviewing them or people who ask them questions? And here's a perfect example. So there's an interview here with two of the Diablo 4 developers, and they're asking about couch co-op in Diablo 4. And the question is basically, what's up with couch co-op? Why is it on the PlayStation and Xbox, but it isn't on the PC? And their answer is, it's a technology question. Trying to do shared screen co-op on PC is much more challenging when it comes to account management and how you play together. And rightfully so, the interviewer asked him, well, why is it different than the consoles? It's all the same shit. They're all just computers. And then they say, well, console is pre-set up for that in terms of ways you can associate the accounts to it. So they basically say, trying to get two Battle.net accounts signed into the same PC at the same time, it's a technology problem. Now, here's the fucking thing. It's not a technology problem. It's a you fucking suck cock problem, because there is nothing that you can do on an Xbox and a PlayStation that you can't do 10 times over on a PC. Just because your Battle.net client fucking sucks and was basically designed to make people create and pay for as many accounts as possible doesn't mean that it's a technical problem. It means that you fucking suck and aren't going to do anything about it. So he asks, is it a solvable issue? And the answer is, not sure. I'd have to talk to our technical director. I don't know if it's a game solvable issue. That's bullfuck speak for, no, we're never going to do anything about it. Fuck off and die. How dare you for asking me a real question? Go fuck yourself. Even though our game is fucking dog shit, you're going to go buy it anyway, cocksucker. That's the translation of what he just said there. And then, of course, the shill reviewer, okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Here, let me bend over while you insert the largest object available into my butthole. That's basically what okay, fair enough translates as. So basically, just ask yourself, are these guys being obviously dishonest? Because if they are, it means you can dismiss everything they say because they're dishonest. They're fucking liars. You can ignore every single fucking word that comes out of their mouth because they're not honest. So it's very simple. Whenever a developer says something that is just batshit bullfuck, you can dismiss every single thing they'll ever say for the rest of their lives because you know they're fucking bullshitters. It's pretty easy to sniff these people out. You know, when somebody says that fucking supercomputers can't handle split screen co-op or couch co-op in a fucking simplistic computer game, you know they're fucking full of shit. Like, this isn't a technology problem. It's not a technical problem. It's actually really fucking easy. They're just fucking being scumbags, and they have no intention of putting in a modicum of effort into any particular issue. And I really want to harp on this too, because it's so damning when they say it's a technology question. No, it isn't a technology question. What it really is it's a business question. Because the bottom line is, they see you as complete scum as PC users. All they see is pirates. And they're so fucking afraid of their shitty game being pirated that they're taking a game that has no reason to be online only and making it online only. This game doesn't even have to have accounts. So how the fuck is it a technology question? How is it a technical issue when the game doesn't even fucking need accounts at all? And the only reason it has accounts is as a shitty anti-piracy measure. This is classic bullshit. They won't address the real problem. They won't address the real reason that it's there, the real reason that it's like that. And they'll talk around it. And some of them are smarter than others. Some of them are so fucking stupid, they'll just say like, oh yeah, we think you're fucking pirates. Those are the dumbest ones. Ones that are one step up are like these assholes who will talk around the issue and not actually get to it because they don't want to be outright insulting. But that is the real reason it's there. This has nothing to do with technology. This has everything to do with business. It's really important to actually literally look at the developers of a game. Listen to their voice. Look at their body language. Focus on the things that they seem to be preoccupied with. All of these things are going to indicate whether a game is going to be good or not. Now, I want you to look at dude in blue there. That is Diablo 4's game director, okay? This guy is 31 going on 97. He has the posture of an 84-year-old man. This dude is pure fucking grandpa. And if you listen to him talk, no hyperbole, no exaggeration, this is the most boring human who's ever lived. In the history of planet Earth, this guy is literally the most boring human who's ever lived on our planet. And this dude is directing Diablo 4. And what's so scary is that this guy's directing Diablo 4 not because he's some game design genius, because he is some incredibly talented individual. No, he's directing Diablo 4 because he was the last guy left at the company who hadn't molested someone. It's a fucking joke. This guy has no passion. He doesn't know what fun is. Watch any interview with him. He is the most boring human who's ever lived. He just doesn't fundamentally get it. And that's why I say it's very important to actually look at the developers of the game, listen to what they say, look at their attitude, because it will say a whole lot about what they're working on. If they're not passionate, then how can they possibly do anything good? Everybody who's going to be good at making a game, everybody who is going to produce games that are great, is going to be really passionate about what they're doing. It's going to be an obsession for them. It's going to be a driving motivation for them. This guy blinks in slow motion. Like he's literally real life Garfield. His eyelids weigh more than a fucking sun. It's actually really insane. And so the other thing too, I mean, if you look at any interviews with these guys, they use the most conservative language. Oh, Diablo 4 isn't going to outright replace the other Diablo games. It's going to coexist besides them. Because I'm such a goddamn pussy, and I know my game is such a fucking piece of shit, I can't even commit to it just outright being better than the other games. No, because I have no ego, I have no passion, and I don't find anything interesting. I move, nod, and somehow just exist in slow fucking motion. I mean, it's no wonder why Diablo 4 is so slow. Look at this guy. He's slow. He's prematurely slow. And he just clearly doesn't understand what fucking fun is. Every single time I've seen this guy talk about the game, he doesn't talk about anything that's fun or exciting. And so it is just incredibly scary that people like this are the ones actually directing video games. It really is frightening. It's not good enough. It isn't good enough. And you can just look at interviews with. I mean, even if you look at interviews with Blizzard employees, during the early World of Warcraft era, and before. I mean, you could just tell that the developers were really into it. They knew they were onto something. Whereas these guys have the countenance of somebody that you would think was working on the next version of Excel. I mean, that's how they're approaching these fucking games. And it just isn't the right mentality. You can't make an awesome Diablo game with that mentality. This isn't the dude. It just isn't. And it's just another indication that the whole structure and management of that company is fucked because they don't have the internal capability to identify that and prevent stuff like that from happening. There should be a system in place to prevent people like this from being the game director of a game, but there isn't. And so that's why you're going to end up with this boring shit. Like I said, this guy is the physical manifestation of Diablo 4. He was safe dude. He didn't molest anyone. He's the most boring human who ever lived. He's not going to do anything too crazy. Let's just play our cards, as safely as we possibly can. Let's not take any chances. Let's just get this turd out the door, squat it out, and move on to the next one. That is exactly what happened here. And it sucks for people, who are ultimately going to end up, buying this piece of crap. But by the same token, I don't feel sorry for any of these people because all the red flags were there. All the signs were there. They were just shouting at you to not buy this fucking game. I mean, it's just obvious. I mean, and what's funny about this is that if you've even done cursory keeping up with the news on this game, it's obvious that the development has been a train wreck. And the people working on it don't even think it's a good game. For example, there was that Washington Post article that had interviews with some Diablo 4 developers. And listen to these quotations here. Several current and former employees also found the representation and depiction of women in Diablo 4 to be uninspired, particularly the game's antagonist Lilith. Some women in the game are relegated to traditional gender roles or undermined by their proximity to a man. The story is just mid when it comes to diversity topics. It doesn't really do anything special there at all or much of anything. I had complaints about the way we handle Lilith. I think we've turned her into someone who's less interesting as a villain than she could be if handled by better writers. So there's two red flags there to look at. So one is the game is being worked on by people who don't even like the game. So that's a major problem. And the end result of that is dog shit. No good games are ever made that way. The second red flag is you got people working on the game that seem more interested in diversity topics than actually making a game that's fun to play. So this is double-decker dog shit here. Not only are the people working on the game people that don't even like the game, but people working on the game are these social justice weirdos who aren't even concerned about what's actually important about a video game. This game is going to be fucking dog shit. It's being worked on by angry social justice warriors. What could come out of that that's any good? It's a fucking farce. Same article said they're just wastefully throwing bodies at the game's development. They're wasting resources. Things have been scrapped and restarted. Development's been a mess. Look at these quotations. Employees are mixed on whether the final finished product will sate fans and be fun to play. it's obviously going to be fucking dog shit. It's just obviously going to be fucking dog shit. Every single good game, the people working on it knew they were onto something. They knew that they were on the right track, that magic was in the air, something was in the air, it was going well, they were working on something special. It's always the case. You can just look at anybody. Any fucking game that's ever been made, any awesome, successful game, it's always the same. The people that work on, oh yeah, we had a great team, we could just feel it, we knew we were doing something special, blah, blah, blah. And look at this one. All you see is uncertainty, insecurity, people who didn't even like what they were working on, who didn't think it was fun, cluelessness. A person familiar with senior leadership found the performance shares unnecessary and even destructive, arguing that they incentivize leadership to cut corners, compromise, and ship products that are not ready to be released instead of doing what is best for long-term value creation. So like I said, you couldn't have more red flags with this game. It's obviously going to be a piece of fucking shit. You can't make a good game under these constraints. In these circumstances, it's not possible. Okay, so when I say, does the game's gameplay pass the smell test? All you have to do is look at footage of the game being played and just ask yourself, does this actually look fun? Does the moment-to-moment gameplay actually look exciting and interesting? And is this something that I would actually enjoy playing? And it's very clearly the case with Diablo 4 that the game isn't fucking fun. The game is slow. The game is clunky. The game has janky animation. This isn't going to be fun to play. There's no excitement to the gameplay. There's no sense of urgency or any form of passion that went into this game. Like it's coming off as exactly what it is. Basically the result of several years of game developer constipation, where they're just trying to squeeze out this turd that they really don't want to lay, but they've been paid to do it, and they're only going to get bonuses if they can do it. And so they just keep squeezing and keep straining and keep grunting until finally they can squat out a nice ripe turd for you to spend $70 on. Like, this game is slow. There's no excitement here. And really, I think that people really need to start calling these games on it, because I've just seen way too many occurrences of people saying like, well, it's just the first act of the game. Oh, it's just the first 27 hours of the game. Of course, it's slow and boring, and there's no gameplay, and it's just very slowly swinging at the air. Yeah, actually, like, if dozens of hours of the game are fucking boring, if dozens of hours of the game are a fucking slog, your game fucking sucks. Your game should be fucking fun immediately. You should be grinning from the moment you start it up and start swinging at shit. Like this isn't acceptable to have, a 20-hour ramp up before the game even begins to get interesting. And it's just another example of this game is a piece of shit. It hasn't been paced well. It hasn't been polished and thought out. The game is a slog for hours and hours before you even get any skills and can really even do anything. That's just dog shit. Games should be immediately fun. People need to start calling companies on this bullshit, because it really isn't good enough. Now, what's really funny about this stuff is that you have all kinds of rubes out there who are going to say stupid shit like, oh, well, there's still 3 months of development time left. It doesn't matter that the game has stilted, janky, shitty-looking animation. Oh, they can just, just completely redo the fucking game in 3 months. Yeah, no, actually, that's not how it works. They freeze art assets months in advance of a game coming out. Like, the last 3, to 4 months of a game's development, they're just scrambling to make sure that the game doesn't crash. That's basically what they're doing at that point. The art is not going to change. This is final. This is what you're getting. You're fucked. They're not improving anything. In fact, this whole game was basically just an attempt to salvage some art so that it wasn't a complete waste of money to produce. And so people really need to not only remember that all of these things are ultimately about money. It's not just that. It's also the fact that this stuff is very unlikely to get fixed. And if anything, history has shown us that 9 times out of 10, games actually look worse when everything is finalized and they actually, finally push them out the door. Because the bottom line is, at the end, what happens? Cuts happen. Corners get cut, things get removed, just in the attempt to get the game out the door. Let's just look at history, okay? You've seen people mention downgrades in games. It always happens because basically when you're trying to get a game out the door, what are you worried about? Like, well, is this game going to run fast enough, or is it running poorly? If it's running poorly, what do? You reduce the size of the textures. You simplify things. You remove things so there's less for the computer to do. It doesn't matter whether it's Quake 1 or Doom 3, they all had cuts made before the game came out. If you look at the alpha version of Doom 3 that got leaked, it had higher quality textures and higher quality sound effects than the final Doom 3 that came out in 2004. Quake 1's original final level needed 16 megabytes of RAM, and so they cut it because the game's target was 8 megabytes of RAM, so they just fucking cut the map and replaced it with a pared down, shittier version. They always make cuts at the last minute. So if anything, this game will probably end up looking worse than it looks today when they finally push it out the door in June or whenever it comes out. Because that's almost what always happens. So don't tell me that they're going to fix the game miraculously, that they're just going to magically redo all the art. No, it doesn't work like that. These games are about salvaging what's already been done, not about redoing stuff. Redoing art is the absolute last-ditch effort. It's the last thing they're going to do because that's just a pure monetary loss. These companies are all about reusing shit. What can we repurpose? What can we do? What can we sell without actually spending any money on it? That's how they think. And like I said, like most rube consumers don't think like that because obviously they just want to have fun. They just want to enjoy some kind of product, but they're coming at it from a completely different angle than the people actually making these games. A massive red flag with games is when you have developers portraying weaknesses as strengths, when you have them basically pretending that an obvious flaw is actually a positive attribute. And here's a perfect example of this. Look at this game. It's slow, it's clunky, and what do the developers say about it? Oh, the game is much more methodical and strategic. No, actually, what happened is you wanted to save money and basically just make one version of the game for consoles and the PC. And because consoles are underpowered pieces of crap and can't actually handle a lot of characters on the screen, we're just going to reduce the density of the mobs and slow down the gameplay so that the game works on fucking PlayStations and Xbox. And even though the experience is objectively worse for PC players, we don't care because you're dumb rubes and you'll buy it anyway. And it's like that with everything in this game. Here's another example too, like the climbing stuff. So how is that fun? Why is watching a character slowly climb down a ladder or ledge in a game like this fun? It isn't. It's just another case of just everything is slowed down and they're trying to pretend that somehow this is a good thing. No, it's not. It's just slower and clunkier. And here's the other thing that's funny too. I mean, even the like the dodge action in the game, or the evade action, whatever bullshit they're calling it. This is being sold as some awesome feature. But if you really look at it, you know why they added the evade button to Diablo 3? It's because on the consoles, with the controls that they had, they were so clunky that they, and the characters couldn't really move efficiently. So they just had to literally give them a button as a way to dodge things. Whereas you could just organically move and dodge and actually have maneuverability in the PC version of Diablo 3. So congratulations. You got tricked. You bought their line of bullshit. But again, they're just basically, selling you a shit sandwich and telling you that you're eating gourmet lunch meat. It's pathetic, really. And it just goes along with all of these other things. Like, look at these cutscenes. The game is full of these boring cutscenes, right? But the game is really low on the high quality pre-rendered, classic Blizzard CG cutscenes. So what actually happened here was that this was just cost cutting. We don't actually want to spend the money on making the real cinematics, and we created all these art assets for our failed Dark Souls ripoff. So we'll just do a bunch of crappy looking, in-game cutscenes, and we'll sell it to you like it's a good thing, as if you play an action RPG to watch fucking cutscenes. No, actually you don't. Like, it's not a good thing. Stop. Don't tell me that cutscenes are somehow a positive aspect of this game when they're not. No, actually, cutscenes are very bad. You're basically just saying that, yeah, this game is full of tedious crap that you probably don't even want to watch once, let alone multiple times. So what's the end result of it? You're going to end up wanting to skip it, and of course, there's probably no option in the menus to say auto skip the cutscenes. And so you're going to spend the rest of your life clicking through stupid cutscenes you don't want to watch. Oh, that's a great experience. Yeah. Tell me more about how amazing and awesome the shitty cutscenes in your poorly written game are. Oh yeah, that's just fucking great. I'm just saying, look at this shit. This is not compelling gameplay. It's so slow. It's so basic. It's so boring. This isn't 2023 quality, exciting gameplay. What the fuck is this? And I said, you can ignore all of these, kind of, broader, complaints. People talking about, oh, is the art, too gritty or too cartoony? But no, it has far deeper problems than that. The real problems are that this is basically a console game, and it's been made with console constraints, but it's being shoved down your fucking throat as a PC gamer, and they're trying to sell you a line of shit as if that's a good thing. Like, no, it isn't a good thing. I mean, the bottom line is, and we all know this, it isn't possible to make a game with console and PC cross-play that's fair without gimping PC gamers. It's not fair. They have more capability. They have more accurate controls. So you can't do cross-play without gimping PC gamers somehow. So have fun with that. Have fun with that gimp shit, and have fun with being told, that, obviously negative aspects of a game are somehow things that you should be excited about. Like, no, you shouldn't be. This is actually really horrible. The other thing you have to look at are conflicts of interest, shady business practices, and this game is full of them. Every red flag is there. It's got the battle pass. It's got the seasonal pass, whatever, all that dog shit, all of these fear of missing out things. Oh, if you pre-order and get into the beta, you get a free fucking pet, or you get a free bandana, or whatever stupid shit it is. All of these things are indications of, we know the game's fucking dog shit, so we're trying to get every penny we can get early before everybody realizes it's dog shit, and we get out with as much money as we can, possibly manage. And this goes along with things like embargoes, with hesitancy to actually talk about the real like end game, or like the real meat and potatoes of a game. All of these things are indications of, we know the Emperor has no clothes, we know it's dog shit, but we're just gonna basically pretend that everything is fine. Just wait till it comes out, buy it, adjust our ties, and then slip out the back door, recede into the forest, Homer Simpson into the bush. That is basically, how you're going to see these guys operate, and that's exactly what's happening with this game. I'm telling you, like I said, selling the game for fucking $70. They're just trying to get those early sales in because they know that this game is going to have no legs because it's awful. They know it is, and they know they can ride out the hype currently of it being a Diablo game to get those early sales, and they know that for the most part people are so stupid that they'll be suckers and do this, and then 10 years from now they'll have forgot about it, or there will be a newer generation of tards to repeat the same mistake. That is how they're hoping to play this. And so like I said, whenever you see review embargoes, pre-order bonuses, battle passes, all that, you know it's fucking crap. It's dog shit. You can already write it off. This stuff, like, you can't morally support this stuff. I mean, if you do, you're part of the problem. Now, another case of the developers obviously not getting it is in this game's animation, and you can just see. So basically, it's a case of, we don't actually understand why people liked Diablo 2, or we have some business reason that we can't actually make the game that people want. And so what's our solution going to be? Basically, we're going to focus on the superficial aspects of the game that people liked and reproduce those, but not the actual deeper, substantial aspects of the game people like. So here's a perfect example in Diablo 4. So the game has intentionally clunky, stilted animations because they kind of look like the kind of janky walking animations in Diablo 2, where all the characters look like they were walking around with, like iron rods ramped up their asses. But here's a little clue. Bad animation isn't good. Like, people didn't like Diablo 2 because it had shitty animation. No, they liked Diablo 2 because it had really interesting itemization. But because we're lazy fucking scumbags and don't actually know how to make good games and don't want to put in the effort into making good items and actually polishing and balancing a game, we'll just make the game grimmer and darker and have shittier animations. Oh, see, look at how much it's like Diablo 2. No, that's, like I said, that's all just surface level bullshit to fool you into thinking that it's something that it isn't. This is not Diablo 2. It's nothing like Diablo 2. And just going back and looking at history, you can see how Diablo 3 had a similar problem. Bobby Kotick came in and said, you have to do the real money auction house. You have to monetize this thing. And they just inherently had a conflict of interest that they couldn't resolve. You couldn't make a good game with that constraint. Because basically, the real money auction house would only work if it was practically impossible to get good items in the game. And so you had to make it almost, statistically impossible to actually get anything good to encourage people to buy shit. So the game wasn't fucking fun. So the game just had a conflict of interest and a constraint where they couldn't possibly make it good. And Diablo 3 wasn't worth a shit until they got rid of the real money auction house. And they could say, okay, well, now we don't have that constraint. We can actually give people good items, and the game can actually kind of be fun. And this game has a similar problem where the entire game exists to sell cosmetics. So every single decision they make is going to be about pushing cosmetics, pulling in the camera, focusing on how the armor looks on the character, all this stupid shit that you don't actually care about. And that's why you can't trust these guys. Because basically, because of the way that they've planned this game's business model, they can't make it good. Their business goal is at odds with the game actually being good.